Alright guys, Homestead Know How Life is Good. We're working on a 2004 Ford e350 and it's having issues with the vents cutting out to the defrost on a load or acceleration on the interstate. So we took the panel off here. It just pops off. You just pull on it. Take the panel off here, it pops off. Then you unhook. Take this off the front of the doghouse. Unhook the doghouse clamps. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, then we're going to take these 4 bolts out of this panel to access a spot to put the new vacuum reservoir. Alright, so now we got the panel off. We're going to take one of these bolts out, and that's where we'll run the vacuum line through and connect everything back together. Now back here is where the vacuum line comes through the firewall and then goes up to your controls, which are up here in the dash under this. All you gotta do is take a screwdriver, pop it out, and you can see all the vacuum controls. And then, so we're just gonna, this just pulls out of the firewall, and that's where they've got the vacuum reservoir. It's down, tucked in behind everything in the firewall, your AC compressor and everything. Or not compressor, but your dryer and everything. So it's almost impossible to get to. It's I think about a 5-hour job, 6-hour job at a mechanic shop, based on the books. So we're gonna take this vacuum line, and all you gotta do is, if you pull on it, it'll come out. And what they do is they run a smaller vacuum line into a little bit better light. Okay, so you can see where it's got the grommet that goes to the firewall, and then there's the T's right there, so you can't access it. There's your vent. There's a door right here. That's what transfers everything up. Here's your line running up to your controls. Alright. So now what we gotta do is go outside and look. Okay, so out here there's a vacuum line right here. Now underneath this protective sheath, this is just wire covering or hose covering, is the red vacuum line, and it comes to this connector right here, and then it goes down over and in behind all that. And as you can imagine, that's gonna be fun, right? Alright, so here's your blower motor, this is your battery. Alright, so this vacuum line, so this is what we're going to take, and we are going to disconnect it from here. Alright, so here's the T where we separated the line right here. Alright, and then I've pushed, here's the vacuum line, okay, here's the other end of it. So I'm just going to work it back down through here. You can see it moving down there. Alright, okay, here is the Ford Motorcraft T. This is going to have your check valve in it. Alright, and then this is your vacuum reservoir box. It's got one inlet and one outlet. It's all one. So basically it just puts pressure in, builds up pressure. That way when you accelerate, it pulls vacuum from this and uses it instead of cutting it out for your motor. Alright, so what we've done is I just took this plug out of the firewall. This is the vacuum line going up. I just basically just pulled it apart. We'll cut it and clean it up. And then I'm going to stick this back in the firewall. Alright, that'll seal up the hole there. Alright, so this one, I'm going to take my razor knife, make sure it has a good clean cut. Look, I mean, it's not a really big hole. It's very tiny vacuum system set up. Guys, so we're gonna take this bolt out right here. Okay guys, a little behind that, but this is an 8mm socket, and this one is a, alright, this one's a 10mm socket. So we're gonna take this out, that's where the vacuum line's gonna come through. And then right here, we're gonna take this out, which is another 10mm, and that's where we'll put the new vacuum canister reservoir. Alright guys, so I took the sleeve off the red vacuum line, I've pulled it back through, and right here where we took our 10mm bolt out, I'm going to put it through the hole, and then you can see the insulation moving. I'm going to hold that, you can use a screwdriver or whatever, and I'm going to put a hole in it. Alright, so I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this, put this back on, trim it, and then I'm going to put it through the hole, and I'm going to take some silicone. I got some RTV, I got the silver, and I'll put it in there to seal that hole up so no fumes from the exhaust or the motor comes into the car. So this was the end I took off the red vacuum line. We're going to put it back on after we put it through the hole and after we put the sleeve back on. Alright, so here's the line run through. Like I said, we'll put some silicone to make sure that there's no leaks. We're going to put this back on. Put our end back on our red vacuum line, put the splitter back in, and then we've got our line over here. So you take your box, and this box will go right here. Like that. Alright guys, so here's our vacuum reservoir. We've got, this is the line that was going through the firewall, runs up to your switches. We've got it into your check valve, and then the check valve into the vacuum reservoir. This is your red line coming through the firewall that run up, and we've got everything connected back together. Now what we're going to do, so we're going to take this and bolt it with the bolt that come out of that, right there in that hole. And then we'll just do the reverse process, put our metal plate back up, 10mm bolts, snap, put our doghouse back on, put the front on the doghouse, and then put our cover plates back on. And of course you can't tell if it's going to switch until you drive it to see if that fixes the problem, because you got to put it under load. It don't work if you're just idling and you're idling it up and stuff. There actually has to be a workload on the motor. Alright guys, so we've got this bolted back in, and I've still got to seal the piece here. And what I'll do is I'll hold that line up and let some silicone get around it, and that'll help keep it from getting skin up. And there's play. You want to leave play in your line because the motor does move some. It's got motor mounts. They're rubber inside of metal. That's how a motor mount works. Couldn't just be stiff because it would break everything. Alright, and then we've just kind of tucked everything up and away. And like I said, we're going to go back through and put everything back together the way we done it on reverse. Now, something else I wanted to show you all. Right here, if you notice on, let's see, this panel right here. And turn it the right way so you can see it. It says fuel reset. So a lot of times, something will happen, you're not getting fuel. This right here is a switch. There's a button on top of it. So sometimes they have an issue of just cutting the fuel pump off. It's kind of a safety thing. So a lot of times you have to pull that panel off, push this down, and you might not have a fuel pump issue or whatever the case. It could just be that. So this is here. That hole's not big enough. I mean, you could put some silicone on that little bitty end, but I didn't on mine. I wouldn't worry about it. I don't think you're going to get that much stuff coming through it. So we're going to silicone this up, put the doghouse back on, and do everything in the reverse order. I don't think you need to see that because once you've took it off, you'll have the general idea of how to put it back on, and we're going to give this thing a test. Homestead Know-How, life is good. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching the video.